Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone to the Q1 2019 DTNS Hangout. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Roger Chang.
Hello, I'm Roger Chang.
Our intern Amos is here as well.
Hello.
And, of course, with us, my co-host, Sarah Lane.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
And how is everyone's pleasant Saturday?
Let me just say, your hair looks divine.
Well, thanks. Oh, fresh roots.
You just came from the stylist.
I did, yeah.
Wow.
News flash. My hair is not actually this light. Something you have to put a little money into.
No worries. No worries.
Well, for what it's worth, my hair isn't usually this gray, but I put a little extra effort into it.
Yeah.
Well,
Amos,
it
fine
helps
today as well.
distinguish you. You're very distinguished.
Right.
I need a haircut.
So for anybody who hasn't seen this before, every 3 months, we like to do a hangout where we check in and just let people know how things are going with the Daily Tech News Show. This is directed at our patrons. You are our boss. You are the people we are answerable to. And so we like to keep you updated about what we're thinking about, what we're doing, all of that sort of thing. And let's start with the Patreon stuff. The merchandise program is in its last month. It's only got a couple weeks left. And the way it works is if you are at a particular level, that is the master or advisor level, and you stay at that level for 3 months, you'll get a cool piece of merchandise as a thank you. So at the master level, you get a DTNS 5-year anniversary art mug. That's the art made by Len Peralta. And at the advisor level, you get the DTNS poster, which, well, it's got that art on it, but I don't know what to do with the poster. But anyway, that gets sent to you as soon as you hit 3 months. So anybody who was at those levels January 1 should start receiving information after the end of March about getting your stuff. This is a Patreon beta program, so just a warning ahead of time that there may be miscommunications. You also have to have an email address or a mailing address in there. They can't send you anything if they don't have your mailing address, and you need to do that at patreon.com/DTNS/merch. I think that's where you can look at all of that stuff. So anyway, that's going along fine right now because we haven't actually started having them send anything. But the whole idea is that they'll do it for us. So we pay a little extra money for it, but then they do all the packaging and shipping and all of that, which will be very cool. There's also just the 5-year anniversary going on. The merchandise program was kind of a way to celebrate that. We're going to try to do some other stuff. And we're open to ideas. If you're like, what I've been thinking would be really cool to celebrate 5 years of DTNS, email us, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. And we will do special offers again. We did a special offer as a beta test in December where we sent out holiday cards. So again, if you want to make sure that you've got the right email address, or I keep saying email, right shipping address, go to patreon.com/pledges. That will show you all of the places you support on Patreon and whether they have your address or not. It just shows up in there. They just redesigned it, so I'm looking. Yeah, it's still there. There's a shipping address column on the right. If you don't see anything there, then you'll want to edit your membership for that. You don't have to change anything else. Just go in and make sure that you've got a shipping address added. That's where you can check to see if there's one or not. It'll even say like, hey, your pledge includes a benefit. You might want to update that. For instance, mine for Scott Johnson says, hey, your pledge includes a physical benefit that requires a shipping address. You might want to update that. That's why I never get anything from Scott. That's fine. I don't need to waste a shipping. Yeah.
Frog pants.
So anyway, other than that, let's check in. You know what I haven't looked at in the last day is the hold on, why can't I see that? The notifications, the number of patrons that we have. So I don't know how to get to that anymore. Interesting. Well,
new interfaces.
Yeah, new interface. I want to know how many patrons we have over last month. That's what I'm trying to check. Because, our rolling monthly goal is to get just one more than last month. And there it is. Okay, right now, as of this very moment, we are 5 fewer than last month. Don't panic. That's normal for mid-month. A lot of times that happens because there's this crossover of there's always people who are like, I just don't have the funds anymore. That's always going to happen. We're always getting new people joining up. And then there's the people whose payments didn't process because their credit card expired or whatever and didn't fix it. So by mid-month, those people start to bring us down a little bit as well. So really, all we need is for you to double check, make sure your payment information is up to date. Or if you're not a patron, become one and become a member. How are you guys feeling about Patreon stuff?
Well, I mean, I certainly want everyone's feedback, especially when some of the patrons start to get their fun goodies. But otherwise, it's a platform that works well for us and continues to.
I'm just happy that everyone is getting the shows through the feeds. I mean, I'm hoping the new system that you set up, where people can choose a tier, has cleared up some of the frustration a few people have had about receiving what version of the show that comes into their podcatcher.
That's a really good point. The tier system allowed us to have multiple tiers at the same amount. It used to be if you had a tier that was $5, that was it. You had a tier that was $5. The new tier system lets us have multiple $5 tiers, which when that came along, it allowed us to say, hey, do you want Good Day Internet in your RSS feed? Do you want DTNS in your RSS feed? Or do you want both? Good Day Internet includes DTNS, but some people just wanted to hear the DTNS. They didn't want to hear Good Day Internet. So we created 3 tiers at each level. And I know that's been most difficult for existing users. New users just they see the list of tiers and they pick it. I think existing users, because what I did was grandfathered everyone into Good Day Internet. Like if you didn't change your tier, you got Good Day Internet because that's what you got when we only had one option per tier. And if you want to get just DTNS, you have to change it. Some people didn't realize that they could get our feed through Patreon. And I know I've seen some people in the dashboard saying, well, there's commercials in the feed, so I'm not going to support you on Patreon anymore, not realizing they got the commercial-free version through Patreon. So we could be better about communicating that. But yeah. If you didn't know about that tier thing and you're like, yeah, I listen to Good Day Internet, but I'd like the option to get just DTNS, you can have that option. Just change your tier. All right. Anything else about Patreon that we want to talk about before we move on?
Just how thankful we are.
Yeah.
Just reiterate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Keeping the lights on, everybody. You're the best.
We try to offer as many ways to support the show as possible. You know, there's the free feed with ads. So if you're listening to the free feed, then you're supporting us through the ads. There's PayPal. If you just were like, I just want to directly support you, but that's it. There's PayPal. You can buy merch. We have dailytechnewsshow.com/store with hats and shirts and hoodies and stuff. But Patreon's really the best way because it provides the majority of our funding by far. And it's a way to easily communicate with people and give people benefits. And it's worth every penny. I keep saying this. Sometimes people are like, how can I help you out without letting Patreon take that 5%? And I say, let them take that 5%. It's absolutely worth it. Facebook wants to take 30%. YouTube and Twitch want to take 50% or more. It's a screaming deal. And so I always tell people that's fine. If you're fine with supporting us with Patreon, then that's our preferred way for you to do it. All right, let's talk a little bit about the ads. These quarterly hangouts were instrumental in chatting with people and figuring out the best way to roll out the ads on the public feed. And if you don't realize this, can't emphasize this enough. The reason we have ads at all is in order to create enough funds to be able to do stuff like CES without feeling like it's cutting us too close to the bone. The Patreon funds provide us the operations to do the daily show, but to do stuff, like CES, I was dipping into savings that the company has made. and having ads will help us build up, and looks like that's working. I think we're going to have budget. I think we've already hit our budget for CES next year, which means 2 or 3 months from now, I can start thinking about, well, what else could we do? I mean, I don't know about France yet, but maybe Nebraska. That's
why not both?
Why not? Yeah.
Well, it allows us a flexibility to try new stuff without necessarily setting up a new Patreon.
Without saying like, okay, we have to hit this amount. And, if it's something that 30% of the audience would like, it's probably worth doing. But if only 30% would like it, we might not get enough Patreon money to do it. And so this lets us just try stuff without being tied into that rigidity of it, and allows us to deal with the patrons as like, you're the boss, you're the folks who support us no matter what, and you don't have to support us extra for us to do extra things. The reason I went with Acast particularly, and this is really important, is I don't know what the ads are. The only thing I can do with Acast is I can say, I don't want to have ads from this kind of company, from this industry, like gambling or something like that. But I don't ever know who the clients are unless I go listen to one of our free podcast episodes out there. So I don't feel pressure on me to cover anything in any particular way, because I'm not going to be reading that ad. It's just going to play. It's going to be different for different people in different parts of the world, because Acast is a worldwide company, even different in different places in the US. So it allows me to be free of that. There's a nice big wall. That's something I've liked at every place I've worked at, Tech TV, CNET. There always was a wall. You didn't talk to the sales staff about your content. And this is essentially a version of that. All right. Anything else on Acast, Patreon? We're going to take questions from people, by the way. If you're in our DTNS Slack, which is available at the analyst level, or if you're at the advisor, master, or analyst level in the Discord, we'll be looking in there for questions. And we'll be looking at the chat and stuff too. But we like to, give a little priority to the folks who are supporting us. Anything else I can think of before we move along?
Well, just on the subject of Patreon, F Glass 1976, which leads me to believe we might share a year, a very cool year, says that they're enjoying us reading the patron names at the beginning of each show episode, which we've been doing for a couple months now.
Yeah. We started doing that in January because we have people who've been supporting us for 5 years, and we can tell who they are.
Yeah. And so, hopefully you hear your name eventually. And thanks for liking it. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah. T-Glass 1976 has been one of those people who supported us.
T-Glass, not F-Glass.
Yeah.
Sarah needs glasses.
T-Glass will answer as long. T-Glasses. You need F-Glasses? T-Glass. Hey, speaking of Sarah Lane, one of the cool things we've been doing is taking some of that capital expenditures money and committing to trying out new products. So how far are you now into the Jabra experience that in our Live With It?
Good question. I should have the date that it arrived in front of me. Yeah. We'll look back at our Amazon delivery, but yeah. So the Jabra Elite T65, I think, is the model, and I've been using them dutifully every day and trying to use them in different scenarios, just to get a sense of how they actually work into my routine. And of course, at the end of the 3 months, I'll have a long review, and I take notes every time something good happens or something weird or squirrely happens. But the short kind of mid check-in is that I love the sound. They are good headphones. They do not fall out of my ears. They are easy to use, super portable, great little carrying case, but Bluetooth is annoying. And every so often, I got to forget them as a device and re-add them within iOS. And it's like an iOS Bluetooth thing. Now they're wireless, so they're, when everything's working correctly, you kind of get your little lady, like the Jabra lady, kind of like Siri, but it's Jabra's own thing. She'll talk in the right ear, but it's obviously in stereo. Every so often,
some Jabra jabber.
So yeah, you get some Jabra. She's very nice. She's a little bit more robotic than the others, but you know, we get along fine. Every so often, Bluetooth will only connect to the right side, and so you got to like repair it again so that you get your left speaker or your left earbud working. Now, this is a minor annoyance, and it doesn't happen that often. So it's certainly not a deal breaker. And I know it's a Bluetooth problem, not a Jabra specific problem, because people complain about this with Bluetooth earbuds in general. But when you're out walking, you got your coffee in hand, your dog's pulling, and this is happening, it tends to be pretty annoying. And it always seems to happen to me when I'm in a rush and I like don't have any free hands to like repair my Bluetooth. So there are some gripes. This is not a perfect product, particularly because as earbuds go, you can go more expensive, but you can also go a lot cheaper than the Jabras. They're $100+ bucks, about 150. So something to keep in mind. I will say though, the sound is amazing. And there's a Jabra app where you can do all sorts of stuff, to turn up the bass or make it more concert hall like, or make it a little bit more noise canceling or less noise canceling if you want to hear more street noise that are coming into your ears. So I'm overall extremely impressed and would buy again.
So I checked it. February 15th, your package was delivered and handed directly to a resident.
That was me. That was me. Well, it was somebody.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember if somebody gave it right to me. It might have been Fidel downstairs. Okay, so we're exactly 1 month into a 3-month thing. Okay, so my overall 1/3 of the way through is mostly positive with some moderate gripes here and there.
Jabra Elite 65 Ts, if anybody wanted the exact model number. The idea is that on May 15th, we'll create an episode where Sarah will say, okay, this is for real. Like I've been living with these. That's why it's called Live With It. And because you were real excited the first week you had them, and then you started to have the Bluetooth problems more often, and you seem to have stabilized from what I can tell on your opinion, but it'll be curious if that stays for the next 2 months or if something else crops up or you find a solution.
Exactly. Yeah. And there are sometimes things that they're just sort of weird things that happen. It's not necessarily like, oh, these aren't working, but I'll be halfway through a podcast and, I'll pause it. And, usually when I come home, I'm not using them anymore. I'm using them when I'm out and about. And then when I put them back in and, press play, it'll like default back to some music that I was listening to like weeks ago.
Oh, weird.
Where I'm like, but it was the podcast app. Like, why wouldn't you go back to what I was listening to the last time? So it just kind of funny things like that, where again, not the end of the world, but slightly annoying.
Reminds me of when you get in a car with Bluetooth and instead of picking up on your podcasting app or with me, Google Play Music, it just starts playing something out of your iTunes librring because you've got an iPhone.
And it's often like an alphabetical thing.
Yeah, right. So it's always Vampire Weekend.
Oh, A-Punk.
Yeah, A-Punk.
I actually had to delete that song because it had begun to upset me so much. And I don't even hate the song, but it's like,
right. But it's just like at a certain point, if you start to associate it with things malfunctioning, right?
Well, and it's a super happy song. It's just like I heard like the beginning 10 seconds of that song 400 times before I'm like, all right, we're not gonna have this in my library anymore. I can't do this anymore. Yeah. Now it's like an MIA song that probably starts with an A. All
right, May 15th, the Ides of May. I don't know if that's actually the Ides of May, but that's what
we're calling it
on this. Yeah.
It's been great though. Also, and this is just before we move on. Mm-hmm. So I got a new car.
What?
I know. I just
what'd you get?
That one. I got a Volvo Xc60.
Oh, you switched brands.
I went crazy. This is a very large car. Like I look like a toddler in this car. It's not the largest, like it's a crossover SUV, so it's a small SUV, but it's much larger than any car I've ever had.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking at it online. Yeah.
It's absolutely insane.
It's not the largest car. It's not like a Land Rover or anything. But
no, certainly not. But it's for me. I'm like I'm higher off the ground than I've ever been. I feel like a superhero of some kind.
I was gonna say, do you feel powerful because you're
it's a very nice car, and it like parks itself. It's total robot. I want to live in that car. I don't even want an apartment anymore. I just want to get absorbed into the Volvo car and that's where I'm going to be. You can find me in my car. However, the reason that I mention this is because we're not going to be buying cars for live with it, but just sort of like driving around and being all excited and playing with the dash and everything. I was like, this could be something we could like work in somehow.
Yeah,
because it's a very unique kind of technical interface that I have barely scratched the surface of, but it seemed like somehow we can get creative and work this into our little series.
What was the clinching factor for picking that particular car?
Well, first is because I got a deal that I didn't deserve. Meaning, I mean, this is a nice car. It's nicer than I am. This car is too good for me. However, I kind of know somebody who knows somebody, and I got a really good deal. Like to the point where when, because the person who kind of did my deal.
You do have the title, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, this is all
legal. Okay, good.
Yes, yeah. But they kind of pass you off to like the finance person, and you like sign a bunch of things, and the whole time she was like, I don't understand why you got this deal.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. So I was like, because they can give you good deals. That's the thing. It's like they're capable of doing it. They just don't want to, So you gotta haggle.
Sounds like I need you to get my next car.
Haggle and maybe a little winky winks.
Yeah, winky winks help.
Wait, like so if I just started winking at the car dealer.
I'm telling you, next Tom, you're in the market. Start winking.
Yeah, it doesn't ever seem to work for me.
Well, you got to wink better.
Yeah, I need to get better at winking. I need to take some wink lessons. Apparently,
I did not wink at anyone. That's not something that I did. But
so
it's sort
you can give it to me for $1,000, right? Yeah.
And I have this car for free.
Yeah. Wink, wink.
Yeah. Wink, wink. No, it's lovely, and Otis is already like, whoa, he's got room now.
A car that would fit Otis is what happened. Yeah.
It was the only thing really that I thought about the entire time. Is will Otis like this? Is Otis gonna like this car? Is this a color that Otis would like?
Have you put him in the car yet?
Yeah. I put the back seats down already, and so it's like he's got like a whole like bed back there, and he's just sort of like, whoa, this is so cool.
That's awesome.
Because he was kind of shoved in the back of my old car. It was a tight fit for a little Odie.
He's not a tiny dog.
He's not. No. 75 pounds. So.
All right. Well, I assume I actually talked about this on It's a Thing this week. Eileen is probably going to get the next car, which means I'll just get her car. So that will be a 9-year upgrade for me, though, even if I get her old car, because I'm driving a 2002 Prius right now. I'm very excited just about that. But yeah, you have to talk to Eileen about some winks, how that works. That's
Eileen
really
and I will practice our winks. Yeah, I know. I didn't totally plan for this to happen yesterday, but it did.
But it did. That's the best way. Yeah.
You know what I even did? And this is so silly. I drove down Sunset Boulevard by myself last night with like the windows down and the music up.
Yeah.
Cruising. It was Friday night, so it's like busy and everybody's out and the girls are wearing little dresses and, it's starting to get warm around here. And I was just like so happy. Like, oh.
I mean, it really doesn't matter what car you get. When you get a new car, you want to do something like that, right?
Yeah,
you want to go for a drive
around. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's the novelty will wear off eventually, but it does park itself. And the first time I did, I know that other cars do this, but I've just never been in a car. We're certainly not in the driver's seat where the steering wheels just and the dealership guy was just like, no, don't touch it. Don't let it do its thing. You're not supposed to touch it. That's the point. Where I'm like, this is crazy.
But I don't trust it. I don't want it to do that.
Yeah. So a lot of fun.
All right. Let's go into our questions now. Cleveland Climber, aka Chris, aka Cleveland Climber, says, I enjoy GDI. Good day, Internet. But was wondering about what would happen before and after a show if GDI wasn't there. Specifically, I understand all the hosts getting together before showtime to make sure that everyone is ready to start, but is it usual for hosts to hang around 20 minutes or so after a recording like you do on GDI? Also, Have Sarah live with it for a Honda Fit. I think he wrote this before you announced your Volvo. And then
well, I mean,
no.
just throw them at me. I'll drive all the cars.
He immediately wrote, "I retract my live with it" suggestion. So he must have heard that. Yeah. So honestly, Good Day Internet grew naturally out of us just talking before and after the show. Before the show used to be a little more of the nuts and bolts of preparation. I think we pay more attention to having fun conversations now that we call it Good Day Internet. But the after show stuff, I mean, sometimes we'll stop recording Good Day Internet and keep talking for another 15 minutes. Like it just depends on the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It became something where the conversation, while it doesn't have, any real structure on our end, became something where it's like there was enough of a cadence where it was a show of itself, because it's also stuff where, we're talking about food or travel or, stuff that's just our personal lives aren't going to get into the 30-minute DTNS. It's just, that's not what DTNS is. So it kind of, I don't know, it expanded it in a nice, fun, casual way, I hope.
It started in the pre and post show as just the Alpha Geek Radio and YouTube stream. Then I began recording it in the early days and started just putting it up as full DTNS on the Patreon. And then eventually we just gave it a name. So it's sort of the natural outgrowth. I mean, this may go beyond what you were actually asking, but the other things you might want to know is we talk a lot in Slack about what we're going to put in the lineup. We meet about an hour before the show in Discord now and talk to each other, like kind of just run through the lineup to prepare. So there are other preparation elements going in. I feel like Good Day Internet is just us loosening up, just like getting ready.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like voice exercises before the Star Spangled Banner.
It's the do re mi fa sol la ti da do of tech news.
That's right. Yeah, everybody loose. All right, it's 1:30 Pacific. Let's do this.
Doe, a deer, a female deer. Ray, my dog. Okay. BioCow asks in the Slack, I think you covered this in the past, but what percentage of income comes from ads versus Patreon? Feel free to be vague or not answer. Just curious if it's like 10% or closer to 50-50. It has historically been 98% from Patreon. As Acast has been running longer, that's going down a couple percentages to, I think, more like 91, 92% Patreon, but it is definitely more than 90% of our income coming from Patreon. I haven't done an exact calculation lately, but that is definitely still the case. T-Glass 1976 says, since you, Tom, he wrote Farah.
I know. At first I was like, Farah? That's a new one.
Like, oh, that's a weird typo. Oh, because
okay. F-Glass.
Since you, Tom, Farah, and Roger are all in Los Angeles, how about an episode with all three of you together physically in the same room sometime?
Well, we did that at our last couple quarterly hangouts, in fact.
Yeah, and we will do that again at our quarterly hangout.
Yeah.
There is a friend of mine, I'll just call him Bustin, who is telling me in Austin recently that he felt the same way, that we should be in the same room more often.
Well, I certainly, I would like to be in the same room as Roger and Tom. I mean, if it was easy, it would be every day. Exactly. We're kind of spread out, so it would be
certainly not
easy to do that. It's not impossible.
Let's assume we found an office. I mean, in reality, we probably wouldn't waste money on an office, but just for the hypothetical, let's say we found an office that is equidistant. So all of us are driving the exact same amount to get to this place and record together. I mean, you're still probably talking half hour each. And one of the positive qualities of life of doing the show the way we do it is the fact that none of us have to get on the road.
There's that hour commute that we just don't. Also, even though we all have home studios, of various kind of configurations, if Tom and Roger were to come to my studio, it's perfect for me there's plenty of room, but it's like, well, now we have gear issues, and how are we all going to get the inputs into, it's like,
if we did,
all of our setups are like specifically for a solo thing.
I
for
could
the
do
most part.
audio guests easy in my studio here.
Mhm.
I would have to do a lot of work to figure out how to do video live here. Not that it couldn't be done; it could totally be done. It's just not what it's set up for either.
Exactly. Yeah, I probably have, because I've got a couple cameras that I don't use for our show.
Mhm.
But yeah, it would be I'd have to tear the room apart and get real creative.
I do love that idea, and I'm not saying never.
Mhm.
But there's a few other considerations we have to think about. I mean, Roger, one of the benefits of Roger having this job instead of some other job that would pay him better is that he can just be at home with the kids.
And by that, I mean dropping them off and picking them up at the various schools and doctor's appointments.
Right, but I know that's an advantage.
It's huge.
Yeah,
because if you were at an office somewhere, it's like,
well, I can't do nothing. I look at the baby monitor and shrug. Like,
I'm too far. Get yourself to the doctor, kid.
It'll make you stronger.
I was young. BioCow asks, Tom in the market, what are you getting? That would be
car.
For the car. I am not getting anything.
Does Eileen have her eye on something?
The one that Eileen is currently, and this is we haven't even test driven or anything like that, but the one that she is smitten with right now is the Mercedes A-Class, which is new in the United States and has like the fancy Mercedes voice recognition and the big touch screen and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's also expensive.
Yeah.
Stupid
cars.
You Patreon level.
If we learn how, no.
Well, if you live in the car, though,
you joke, Roger, but other people out there are not joking when they're like, "Oh, so we're just giving you your money so you can waste it on that." And yeah, no, it's not my money; it's Eileen's money. So she gets to spend it however she wants.
But you get a hand-me-down car.
Exactly. I get what's left over. That's what I get. I would say that maybe we can learn some winking. It'll help.
Toe tapping, winking.
Chad B had a tip. I know you saw this already, Sarah. For the left earbud of your Jabra, put it back in the case, pull it back out to reconnect.
I am going to try that as soon as we're done here, in fact, because I'm going to take a little walk around the lake with my dog, and hopefully it'll mess up so that I can try that. Because if that's an easier solution than me like repairing my Bluetooth device every time this happens, which again is like never more than once a week, and that's using it multiple times a day, so it's not that big of a problem, but it's consistently annoying. So I'll try it. Thank you for the tip.
Yeah, of course.
Anybody else have tips? Send them on.
Send them our way. And over in the IRC chat, WScottus1 wants to know, have you thought about doing an updated how you prepare for DTNS? Because the most current one is before Sarah joined the team. Yeah, I don't even live in that house anymore. I got different equipment. We have a different procedure in some ways than we did back then. So yeah, I will do that. I can't commit to when, but I will do another, like, this is how I prepare. The last one I did was on Snapchat. I just did snaps and then, put them all together and then downloaded the video and put it up on YouTube. So I may or may not do it that same way again, but I'll do something where I show the new studio and the new methods and all of that. All right. I'm going to put some links in the Discord. If anybody is a patron and is hooked up in the Discord at the advisor or the master level, or even the analyst level, you can now find a link to join our Hangout. We'll stay on for a few minutes to see if anybody joins. If nobody does, we'll just wrap it up. But you should know, if you don't, that we will always announce these a few days ahead of time on Patreon. So keep an eye on that. And then when we do them, if you're at the analyst, advisor, or master level, you'll get this link towards the end where you can jump on and be part of the Hangout if you like. We've had a few people do it here and there. I think it's been a couple of quarters. since then, but always fun to see folks join. It's like a little roulette wheel. Who will join? What do y'all have set for the rest of your days?
I am going to the local Transformers convention.
Really? That is
Yes.
not what I expected anyone to say.
No, me either.
That's pretty great.
It's literally at the airport, an airport hotel, which
Hotel by the airport. Yeah. Well, a lot of conferences are
or the interstate's one of those. I got it. But
are you planning on picking up any collectibles?
no, I'm just curious to know what's
up? What's going on in there? Yeah.
I expect a bunch of middle-aged guys trading plastic toys.
Yeah, I think you've got the best. Well, I haven't heard from Amos and Sarah, but certainly have better plans than I have.
Roger wins. Yeah, I was
exciting.
Otis and I had to go across town somewhat early this morning to get my haircut. So we did an early walk, a brisk early walk. But it is warm today. It's in the mid 80s. And it's not even noon. Well, actually, okay, it's exactly noon. But
that's why I'm in a t-shirt.
Yeah, I know. I'm not, just because I'm inside and it's nice and shady. But yeah, I thought we'd take a little walk and get some vitamin D.
Yeah, I'll do that with Ray and Sawyer too. I'm gonna go get some lunch with Eileen right after this. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of plans. Amos is our intern. I know I mentioned that already, but this is pretty awesome. Like this, Amos, you're like an official for real intern that we had to like fill out paperwork for and everything. It was great.
Right. Yeah. Had to apply to the Air Force to get me to be here and stuff. So so my plans for the day, I am hopefully going to do a fresh install of Windows to troubleshoot a driver issue that has been plaguing me for a couple weeks. So yes, Roger wins.
Yeah. I've been there, man. That's the worst.
Luckily, I have a spare hard drive. I can just throw it on there and try things out without actually overwriting my current install setup. But yeah, that's my plans, and maybe play some board games with the family later on tonight.
Ooh, my wife would love that. I generally don't like board games unless there's enough people to make it interesting. So for me, the fun of the board game isn't the game. It's everything. It's the activity that goes around the game, right? It's either the gossip, it's the pizza you buy, it's complaining about your family life or something. Something. The community aspect of it, less about the game. And if there's not enough people, you don't get that feeling.
We've been on a Exploding Kittens tear lately. So
it seems kind of
that's the game. There are no actual incendiary.
It's fun, and we have the NSFW version and the clean version, and we kind of mix the two, and it's a good time.
Oh, really?
Well, we have such a large family, we need the extra Exploding Kitten cards from the other deck. So, but yeah, that's my plans for the day. Because I'm tired of driver issues.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, listen, I think we're going to wrap it up there. We will have another one of these in the summer, in June. We will probably be putting out our mid-year survey by then, so keep an eye out for that. It's always helpful to hear what folks are thinking. Our December one was extremely helpful in figuring out a few things, and they've been always helpful over the years. We are also going to probably on the next quarterly update, I'll be able to say like, hey, we're thinking about spending some of our money on this or that project, like more serious than Omaha or Paris. So hopefully we'll have some actual options to kind of float out there for people. But if you're like, hey, this would be cool, I'd like you to do this, I'd like you to do that, feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com is always there for you. Thanks everybody for supporting us. And don't forget patreon.com/DTNS. If you are like, hey, I just stumbled across this, but I would like to join all those awesome people that are asking questions and being members, you can do that at patreon.com/DTNS. We'll talk to you Monday.
Bye everybody.
Bye.